Everybody, it's Darren Storsley from BareTalk Television once again, but I get to introduce my new friend Andrea Reimer, of course, Vancouver City Councillor, currently. So we can all see who she is. You've seen her name on several ballots over the past almost decade, starting in 2002. I believe you were voted into Vancouver School Board.
Yeah.
And then 2008, you became a Vancouver City Councillor. I always wonder about politicians and what makes you decide to be a politician? Are you born that way or is it a choice? Like, what happened along the way that made you go, you know what, I'm gonna be a politician, I'm gonna stand up for people?
Yeah, well, I think everyone probably has a different answer to that. I think there are some people who in kindergarten are like, I want to be prime minister. That wasn't me. I grew up pretty modestly, person of modest means. Never really was brought up to believe that a microphone was a place that you wanted to find yourself behind. But over the years, just saw unfairnesses and injustices happening around me. Started young, apparently. I organized a little raisin revolt in preschool because I didn't like the quality of raisins, and it just kept going from there.
The raisin revolt. I wish your teacher could see this now because I'm sure you're going to remember a raisin revolt in kindergarten. So really, then what I'm hearing is that there are little events like from childhood that makes you go, you know what? I want to stand up for things. I'm gonna be a spokesperson for people. So after the raisin revolt, then what? Then what happened? That was a step, definitely.
Yeah. Well, during my teens, I grew up in the sort of Cold War era where we were protesting nuclear war and the idea that in a flash we could all be gone, and trying to get politicians to make better choices around that. I did a lot of work around anti-poverty and social justice work. That kind of led me to the environment and thinking about more, we could build people houses, we could get them education, we could get their kids the resources they need, but if the air is dirty and the water is dirty, there's no way for people to protect themselves if they're living, if they're not phenomenally rich and able to sort of build their own little place to live. So it really got me thinking that I needed to do more on environmental issues. So I came back to Canada and started doing work on that. And one thing kind of leads to another. If you're a woman with a big mouth, many political parties say, hey, have you ever thought about running for office? I got involved in the Green Party and was really involved in the early days of that and building that party. When I first got elected in 2002, I was the first elected for the Green Party in Canada.
Okay. Wow, congratulations on that. Now, women in politics, we have seen that rate of women in politics increase.
Yep.
How are you feeling about that? Did it take too long for women to get involved?
Well, yeah. You think about the challenges that women have in every sphere of their life, whether it's sports. I have a young, well, not so young anymore, actually, a 21-year-old now. But when they were young, I remember watching the Olympics with them and them saying to me, Mom, how come women aren't as important as men, and realizing that that's just what they were seeing played out in front of them. I'm a big soccer fan. We watched a lot of soccer and realized every soccer game that my kid had seen on TV was a game that had men in it, right? Even though I play every week, right? Thinking about women in the corporate world, women in media. How many times do we see men on a stage or on a camera, but not women as much? And politics is just sort of the funnel of our society. So of course you're going to see more men there as well. It's challenging for women. It's a challenging environment. But I think over the years that I've been involved, it's changed so much. I see women now stepping up in ways they never used to step up and say, I think I can do this. I
am really, really happy to hear that. Now, you have said that you are not running again for re-election. What's next for you? I'm thinking it's not over for you when it comes to standing up for things and cleaning up the environment and standing up for kids. What's next in your path?
Yeah, well, it was a tough decision not to run again, but after 16 years, it sort of felt like I could use a change, Vancouver could use a change, and I'm taking up space that could be taken up by someone who's younger, an Indigenous person, trans people, all the people that I've fought for my whole life. I feel like I'd like to make room for them, so that was part of my decision. I applied to Harvard for a fellowship and the advice of a friend, which seemed kind of crazy. I didn't go to university, so the idea that you just sort of throw in an application to Harvard seemed a bit strange. But then I got shortlisted and then I got accepted. So that's next for me, yeah.
I love that. Now, you know, I know we just have a few seconds left here, but just some other things that I've done when I researched about you. Al Gore chose you to deliver the Inconvenient Truth presentation here. What was that like for you?
Oh, that was pretty incredible. That was another one where it's like, what's the worst thing that can happen if I apply? And then it turns out I got in.
Yeah.
So, and it was in the early days of that. I was one of the first few hundred that was trained. It was great. I actually didn't think I'd enjoy him very much because I didn't enjoy his presidential campaign very much. But he's amazing. It really, what it said to me is when you're doing something you're really passionate about and you really believe in, you bring your whole self to it. And that president was, I think, something he felt he was supposed to do as opposed to something like taking action on climate, which he's so incredibly passionate about. So yeah, it ended up being a really positive experience for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the key words that you use is passion and passionate, and that's really what we have to be, right? In order to succeed in anything and to put our word out there. And I know you've been that for Vision Vancouver. You've shown a lot of passion in a lot of things that you've been involved in over the years. And Executive Director of the Wilderness Canada Executive Committee. Tell me a tiny little bit about that.
Yeah, for about 10 years, I ran the largest membership-based environmental group in the country called the Wilderness Committee. We work to protect biodiversity, so wild places, but also wild animals, species at risk, and really did some groundbreaking work, not just in terms of protecting things, but also making, you know, nowadays you think environmentalists and Indigenous people work together all the time. When I was first starting out, it wasn't like that at all. We had to work pretty hard to build relationships with that, with organized labor, with the small business community, and it's been really great to see the legacy that's left.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Andrea Reimer, for just a few more months left as your city councillor, what do you want to leave as your legacy? What's your legacy? What do you want to pass down to the next person that's going to take your space?
You know, the most important thing for me, I mean, there's policies I'm very proud of. We've gone from less than 500s to now the third greenest city in the world. We have a nationally significant leadership on reconciliation with Indigenous people. We got campaign finance reform through finally, so we've gotten big money out of politics, some planning in some of our most marginalized communities. So all those things I'm very proud of, but what I'm by far and away the most proud of is seeing the space that I've made for people and gotten out of the way. So Chief Ian Campbell's running for mayor. That just makes my heart soar to think that he sees that possibility. And if he gets through, how many other people can see the possibility for themselves, not just Indigenous people? Because if we can elect an Indigenous man as the mayor of Vancouver, anyone has a possibility to succeed in Vancouver, and that to me is a pretty phenomenal legacy to leave.
Indeed it is, and thank you very much for your passion and being a role model for people to step up, to continue to make Vancouver an even better place than it already is. What a pleasure it was for me to meet you. This has been Darren Storsley and Andrea Reimer with BareTalk Television.